If you're ready.
Thumbs up. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming, and I guess I want to welcome myself to this beautiful auditorium here in North Conway. Thank you for having us here. This is quite lovely. What a lovely high school you have up here, and we're happy to be up here, even if you are paving Main Road in North Conway. For 2 years. For 2 years. Oh, so the highway projects are the same all over the state. Isn't that nice to know? All right, I apologize to people here and listening that we are starting a few minutes late. As I said, there was a little traffic and we wanted to make sure all members of the redistricting committees of the House and Senate of the New Hampshire General Court were here that we knew were coming. So having said that, this is business of your general court for the state of New Hampshire, and I would like to begin tonight by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would join me in standing, there is the flag over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
Thank you for doing that. As you might know, this session is being video and audio recorded, and it will be subsequently placed online and made publicly available. This is not a typical meeting of the House or Senate committee. Not all members are present here tonight. Staff of the General Court has worked to secure this meeting. For those of you watching, we are in Carroll County at the Kennett High School. And I and the committee are certainly grateful to the staff that arranged this and the organizations that control the use of this facility. And thank you for the microphone and the setup. It's really terrific. As I said, this is a joint meeting of the House and the Senate committees on redistricting. We have both committee members present, so we're actually really conducting 2 meetings at once, and you didn't think your government was sufficient. Here we are doing 2 meetings at once. And to introduce the Senate and to officially open the Senate meeting, I'm going to turn to my right, Senator Gray.
Well, thank you very much. I am James Gray. I am the chair of the Senate Special Committee on Redistricting. I'm also the chair of the Election Law Committee. Before I pass the mic, I do want to remind the audience that Senate rules don't allow cheering, booing, clapping. If you want to express your opinion, get up, use the microphone, and talk to us. Okay, and with that, I will pass the mic.
Thank you. My name is Regina Burso, State Senator for District 19, which is Hampstead, Wyndham, and Derry. I'm also on the Election Law Committee, but also Chair of Transportation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Senator Rebecca Perkins-Quokka. I represent District 21 on the Seacoast, which is Portsmouth, Durham, Newmarket, and the surrounding towns. And my family is joining us here tonight, so just be nice to us when we testify.
Thank you. My name is Barbara Griffin. I'm a representative from Boston, and I'm going to start by turning over the mic to the representative on my right.
Hi, I'm Bob Wynn. I'm a representative from Wyndham, New Hampshire. I'm on the special redistricting committee. I'm also on the House Finance.
Good evening. My name is Marjorie Smith. I represent Durham and Manbury in the House. I serve on the Judiciary Committee and on this special committee on redistricting.
My name is Paul Bergeron. I represent National Ward 2, and in addition to this committee, I serve on the House Election Law Committee.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and thank you for having us here. It's a beautiful drive. My name is Lucy Weber. I represent Cheshire District 1, which is Walpole, Westmoreland, Chesterfield, and Hinsdale, which is the farthest you can go southwest and still be in New Hampshire. So it was, I've seen a lot of the state today. In addition to the special committee on redistricting, I also sit on the House Health Education and the House Health, Human Services, and Elderly Affairs Committee. I'm sorry, I have a long day.
Thank you, Representative Weber. As this meeting is being watched online, I want to take this opportunity to speak to the overall process. You can be watching this online by going to the General Court website and clicking on the Special Committee on Redistricting, and the access to the live video stream is available there or on the General Court page. And information on the redistricting process for the House of Representatives can be found on the General Court website. And once there, you select the House of Representative and then go to the committee, standing committee site where the Special Committee on Redistricting has a link. When you get to the Special Committee on Redistricting page, there's a link that allows you to email all committee members, and I'm speaking of the House side. The Senate also has a web page. There is also something on the page for a link of meeting minutes, recordings, information that the committee has been considering, and there's also a link there for people to submit comments and maps online so we can take a look at what members of the public might see. And of course, we're here for the public input in regards to what you might want to see for maps. We're here for redistricting, which is a process that occurs throughout the country every 10 years after the federal census is completed. And that population data is used to create districts for representatives at all levels of government. Here in New Hampshire, our Constitution says the responsibility for the creation of those districts is that of the legislature. The districts to be redrawn in New Hampshire will be the Congressional, Executive Council, State Senate, and state representatives. There is also redistricting for county commissioners and the state party convention. There were some handouts outside with some information for you, and that has some more detail on Carroll County. And from the representative House side, it's helpful for us to hear what you think might be important or what works or doesn't work for you here in the county. There were sign-up sheets, and there should be one out front for you to sign up if you'd like to speak. It just helps us organize the meeting a little more. And we have a microphone up here for you to speak to. And since we're recording, I got told to keep the microphone right close to me. We're trying to make sure everybody can hear us and that we can record online. And so with that, we are here to receive comments that you might have. I know some of you were able to see some information that a group here in New Hampshire presented or is presenting in regards to map redrawing. And with that, I'm just going to go in order. And Representative Nerd has signed up to speak. Apologize for the young and welcome. Nice to see you in person again.
Good to see you again too. Thank you very much. I guess that's getting up okay. Well, we all know that the goal of redistricting is to ensure equal representation of people in each district when the population shifts. But obviously, we know for centuries, all the way back to Governor Geary in 1812, that redistricting has been a vehicle for partisan gerrymandering in order to strengthen the political grip of the party in power at any given moment. And it's been used by both Democrats and Republicans. But the use of computer power and big data has allowed ever more powerful gerrymandering. So we all know the evils of gerrymandering. It increases competitiveness in districts. It leads to increased political extremism, and it leads to a widening of our political divide. And that partisan appearance erodes people's faith in the political process. As Representative Griffin said, constitutionally, the legislature has to approve the plan no matter what method is used to create the districts. But the process can be done in ways to limit gerrymandering. And those of you on election law committee from the House know that I've had a long interest in this, and over my 5 years in the House, I've sponsored bills to promote fair redistricting by limiting the input of politics. The first bill used the computer algorithm to control all the districts, prohibiting the input of political leaning constituents from the metrics that would be used. The second bill proposed the use of a retrospective analysis of the map using the efficiency gap as developed by Stephanopoulos, and then subsequent outlier analysis as a tool to measure the process, show it any partisan advantage of gerrymandering. And I introduced those purposefully way back in 2017 or 18, and we really had no idea who would be in power, because I was hoping both sides would come to the table at that point to work for a solution. But they failed. And subsequently, I did join as a co-sponsor in the bill for creating an independent redistricting commission and urged the use of metrics in that process as well, to be able to confirm that what they came up with was a fair redistricting process. Again, each of these bills define process only, with final approval by the legislature to comply with the Constitution. And actually back in 18 working on that, I also co-authored with Colin Van Oster the language for that plan in 2018, and actually Democratic Party platform that opposed gerrymandering on a partisan basis. So the bottom line is that what you're going through now, I really urge you to use the principles of an inclusive and transparent process that respects communities of interest and compactness. And I would kind of urge you to submit this plan as it develops to testing using some of these methods, such as the efficiency gap with outlier analysis or other techniques that have been developed to assess the degree of partisan advantage or gerrymandering. Because if such metrics demonstrate a really low probability of gerrymandering in the maps you develop, you're going to do a lot to restore the faith of the voters in our political process. And you'll stave off many of the usual lawsuits we face every 10 years. If they instead demonstrate a high level of gerrymandering, then the plan would be indefensible and you probably ought to go back to the drawing board and redo it. Bottom line is it's critical for the redistricting maps to be responsive to the will of people so they can elect whom they wish. Because it's time to let the voters choose their candidates rather than the candidates choose their voters. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have signed up to speak Alan Farnham from Tamar.
I want to begin by thanking you all for coming, and especially since the drive was so slow today. Really appreciate you. All the hard work you've invested in this whole process. And it's a huge responsibility. Your work will impact all of us in the years ahead. This past year, people in 74 towns and municipalities around the state voted to support the New Hampshire resolution for nonpartisan fair redistricting. Clearly, the public desires a fair, open, and impartial redistricting process. Your special commission has taken a good first step by scheduling the listening sessions like you're having tonight in each county. However, the committee must follow up these listening sessions with 4 additional actions. First, the Special Redistricting Committee should immediately disclose the criteria they are using to create the new voting districts. Second, once the maps are drawn by the Special Committee, they need to be made available to the public. Each citizen deserves an opportunity to see the maps, study the maps, and then comment on the maps. Therefore, another hearing is imperative. Further, the second hearing needs to provide an option for citizens to participate remotely. I have spoken with many people over the course of these last few weeks who cannot attend in-person meetings due to COVID concerns or other health issues. Many of them care deeply about redistricting and wanted to be here tonight. They deserve a chance to both hear information and give testimony directly to this committee. Remote access would provide them with this opportunity. Finally, I want to urge you to incorporate the population data with communities of interest data. This spring, nonpartisan groups such as the League of Women Voters and Open Democracy gathered people from around the state to participate in the Mapathon Citizen Mapping Project. I was one of the citizens who participated in this project by filling out information about the town that I live in, Tamworth. The data was then meticulously compiled and maps drawn using both population numbers and communities of interest data. I have looked at these maps and believe they present fair, nonpartisan, and balanced solutions to redistricting. Please consider using these maps when making decisions. And thank you again for all your hard work.
Thank you. Also signed up is Gabrielle Watson.
Good evening. I want to also thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in a crucial process to share our ideas about what it is going to take to secure fair and trustworthy voting districts for the state of New Hampshire. I'm Gabrielle Watson. I'm from the town of Tamworth.
We're a rural community, largely rural community that looks north to the Mount Chorua. And we're connected to a number of the communities around us through common interests like farmers markets and fairs and activities like hiking. I'm very worried that our country and our communities are being divided and split apart. And so this process is crucial to help us assure that we have non-partisan and fair districts that everybody can trust and have confidence in to secure our sense of confidence in our democracy. In general, what I would like to see and what I think this means is that we need to understand the criteria that you're using and to have a clear and transparent process to understand how you're drawing the maps and have an opportunity to input into the maps and see them. I think it's important to keep high school districts together and public health regions together. These are some of the communities of interest that we identified during this process of citizen-led and citizen-oriented mapping that Ellen was just describing. And keeping the districts compact so that the people who live and are represented by their representatives share cultural resources, share interests in common, can know each other and live close to each other. So they go to the same medical facilities. All of this helps us collaborate around regional initiatives. Right now, Tamworth is struggling with how do we recycle. We're trying to figure out who can we collaborate with. Those kinds of bonds really help us work together. So those sprawling, districts that go from one side of the state to the other, obviously the communities in the far ends of those districts have nothing in common with each other than having a shared representative who may or may not be listening to all of the members in the district equally. Very specifically in Tamworth, we share a lot of bonds with the community of Sandwich, and so that's an interest that I would like to express. I know it's complicated because you're needing to follow a lot of rules about numbers and compactness and being contiguous with other communities, but that's one thing that for us in particular, because we share so much between our two communities and also with Madison, that's one thing in particular I'm interested in. And then finally, the last thing that I wanted to speak to today is really the importance that people need to have a chance to have a say in fair redistricting. It's wonderful to have a listening session and to listen ahead of time before you develop the maps, but we need to see those maps that you develop and to be able to respond to how those maps, are they adequate to our understanding? Are there perhaps questions that we have that might improve on them, that might make them more representative and more responsive to the interests that we share as communities? So while the listening session is great, and despite not having Zoom, which you would think after 18 months, we would have been able to figure out how to have Zoom participation in a public consultation process, but I do think that we need to know, or I guess the question that I have is, when will we see the draft maps? And when will we see the criteria that you're using to draw those maps so that we can understand your thinking behind the maps? And when will you be taking public comment on those maps? And how much time will we have to make comments on those maps before they're voted on? It seems as though we would need at least 2 weeks before they're finalized and they're voted on in order to have any kind of meaningful input into the substance of what you've developed through your hard work. So I would like to urge you to commit to having another round of public hearings after the maps are released and before they're voted on, and potentially consider, if it's not feasible to have a Zoom interaction in all of the public hearings, then to have a standalone Zoom session for all of those people. We have a number of people who are compromised medically who weren't able to be here tonight, but who've been participating with us in our preparation for thinking about what we wanted to say tonight. So I urge you to consider at least having a Zoom participation option for those people. Thank you again for your hard work.
Thank you. Also signed up to bring us comment tonight is Lynn Witt from Sandwich.
I am Leonard Wick from Sandwich, and I'd like to thank you all for allowing us to express our opinions. As members of the redistricting board, you must decide who you're going to listen to as this process goes forward. You're going to be listening to extremists or voters who want a more balanced approach to redistricting. In my opinion, the balanced approach will best serve Republicans, Democrats, and undeclared voters, and our state and our democracy as a whole. I'm going to provide 3 stories that happened approximately during the last week or so. The first is an example among the Republican Party and extremists in it. Please do not listen to these folks and their ilk when making your redistricting decisions. Today, we all said the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America. I hope all of us and all of you believe every word of it and are not just mouthing those words. I bring it up because 9 GOP members of the New Hampshire House of Representatives recently co-sponsored a bill which provides for, and I quote, that the state peaceably declares independence from the United States and proceeds as a sovereign nation. This is what extremist leaning redistricting brings forth. They are betraying our pledge to one nation under God. Story 2, the New Hampshire Executive Council, with its GOP majority, following the lead of anti-vaccine extremists who at one point forced the cancellation of the meeting. That board then later rejected $27 million in federal funding to help the state fight COVID-19. They did so even though Governor Chris Sununu later said, our state COVID response really depends on this money. It's a disservice to all of us who are elected to serve. To anyone watching, it seemed the Executive Council caved in to the screaming mob, the extremists. Now New Hampshire is the only state in the nation that have declined the funding and in essence gave our hard-earned tax monies away to support other states like Massachusetts, Vermont, New York, New Jersey, and allow them to fight COVID. This is not very fiscally responsible. And again, some of it was pushed forward by extremists, and that's why I'm pleading with you not to take that course. Story 3, and there's a message in there. In Moultonborough, also this week, similar anti-vaccine, anti-mask groups demanded via petition that a vote be held by the school board. The petition demanded that masks be optional for extracurricular activities. It would reverse the school board's mandate. However, the good people of very conservative leaning Moultonborough voted to support the school board's mask mandate. More than 350 people voted, and 57% of them voted for the mandate. It's a backlash towards extremism, and it might be, for the Republican Party, a harbinger of the future. You have a choice. As you make redistricting, you can listen to the good people of Moultonborough or the extremists, some of whom would divide our nation and separate New Hampshire from it. It could backfire and permanently hurt the GOP, especially if Moultonborough is a sign where rational voters are headed, which is away from extremist politics. I hope all of you consider to stay as far away from it as you can and do balanced districting to bring our country back into balance, our state back into balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Burrows is with us tonight. I didn't sign up.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I
think everything that I would have said has been said.
Okay. How about William Horner?
Good evening, thank you very much for being here to listen to our input. I'm having trouble understanding exactly what the criteria is. I don't know if that is listed somewhere in a public document that we can read. If it is, I would like to know where that document is. I have looked at the maps that were drawn by the outside, which you'll see and have seen probably many times. I don't know all of the dynamics that were used for those maps, but when I look at them, they look like they have been used to make it as fair as possible. And I think fairness is the thing that needs to be considered about party, whether it be Democrat or Republican. We need to be fair to all citizens in the state, not just one party or the other. I think if you look at the numbers, Democrats and Republicans are about equal, but there's an awfully large group in the middle that would just like to have good representation of their thoughts and ideas in the State House, in Washington, and throughout. I urge you to do that. The following thing that I would like to comment on is when you do publish your maps, your districts, it would be really good to have a good opportunity to review those and have another session so we can come back and comment on what you have decided to do. If you follow the maps that are outside, probably be a lot less comments. But thank you very much for your time here tonight, and I appreciate the work you're doing. I know it's difficult to make all the numbers fit together and try and get communities of interest together and keep this state on a forward path, not on a divisive path. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a Sue Cosa here? No, I'm pretty sure I mispronounced the last name. Would you like to speak?
I said I wanted to listen.
Oh, here we go. Okay, well, thank you. I didn't check to see if there was nobody else in it. Is there anybody else here who'd like to say something, specific comments as to districts right now, as to what works and doesn't work for you as a Carroll County? Sir, come on down. Oh, I can't say the name. The Honorable, come down.
Thank you, and it's good to see several former colleagues before. Thank you. And thanks for the work that you're doing. I know that this is difficult and will continue to be until when? January, February?
Representative, could you please introduce yourself for the minutes?
Yes,
Tell us who you are.
I can. Ed Butler, and I live in Hart's location.
Thank you.
Thank you. Something that I haven't paid much attention to, and that I appreciate that there is information there that we can use and maybe not have used enough, is the committee website. And so I just want to point out that if I haven't been looking at it, I'm sure that many other people haven't been as well. I know that there is the nonpartisan group Marathon working on developing maps, but I just encourage all of us to use the House website as well and look at all of the work that, or all of the information that is there. And as Representative Burrows said, my concerns are essentially the same as those you've heard. Transparency is, I think, critical. And I understand that there is a deadline of November 18th, but I also understand that the deadlines in the legislature have been and will continue to be flexible. And if it is possible for you, not necessarily to return to every county with the maps, but to somehow provide a process where we can see the work that you do and having an opportunity to comment, that would be important. I think it will go a long ways towards having trust in the process. You've heard concerns about having a virtual meeting. We can't do it at every meeting, but possibly do one. I know that it is the speaker's designation that there should be no virtual meetings. I would hope that you would challenge that. In terms of communities of interest or communities of affinity, I live in the little finger at the top of Carroll County. It sticks its finger into Coas. And yet, some of the maps that I have seen suggest that our affinity is north to Coas instead of south to the Conrads and into Carroll County. I would hope that you would understand that although I'm an innkeeper and some of our guests go to Brecton Woods to go skiing, most of our guests and those residents in our town are going to Bartlett, are going to Conway, are going to Tamworth, are going to Jackson. And that affinity is important to us, and I hope that you won't break it. The Senate district that is proposed by the Macathon group undoes the relationship between Coas and Grafton, which is a natural geographic connection, and redoes it so that that geographic connection is to the northern part of Carroll County. It's not as comfortable a relationship, I don't think, because Franconia and Sugar Hill and those areas have always been related to Littleton and Bethlehem in a way that northern Carroll County is not. So I would hope that you would appreciate that concern and consider it as you put your final maps together. And again, thank you very much for your time and for coming all this way and going to every county to hear us. And please come back to us with the possibility of having some kind of commentary before you finalize your work. Thank you.
Madam Chair, could I ask a question? Very short question.
Yes.
And
then I will decide whether the honorable Representative Butler can answer it. Okay?
Thank you very much. It was addressed to you, Madam Chair. I don't know if I'm the only one who is curious about exactly why Park's location is in this county, given the way the map is drawn.
The finger. And
Is there a historic reason for that?
there, I'm sure is, but it's before me, and I will find the answer and send it to you.
Thank you for indulging me.
Well, it does beg the question, as you look at the maps and the county maps and other regions don't always make a lot of sense, so that probably wins.
It works fine.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody else here who'd like to speak? Representative, come on down.
Good evening, and thank you all for being here this evening. To Marjorie and Lucy, it's nice to see you travel up and over. So
They're going to need you to state your name for the record.
for the record, my name is Mark McConkey. I'm from Freedom, and I represent the people here in this room from Carroll District 3. I have been through this process on 2 occasions and served 2 different communities. Sometimes signaling one out and moving over to the right another time. I caution you folks with all the hard work you do. I've seen people sit on this committee that draw these lines and never hold office again. And they don't hold office again because they have taken their job seriously, and when the lines are drawn, it not always benefits the people that are sitting behind those desks. So I know many of you, I know you're hardworking, and I know your commitment to our state will be taken. My position at two different redistricting, and I'm looking at a third, is I will stand proud and serve whoever you give me. I want to thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Representative. Is there anybody else here who'd like to speak? I see. No.
I'm the dishonorable Bill Marvel. South Conway. I didn't really plan to speak, but it's hard to turn down an invitation. I have lived in this town for quite a while. I still sleep in the same bedroom I was given when I was 5. And as a young Democrat growing up around here and as a young man, I was appalled at how many Republicans there were around me. And I wished for many years that someone could do something about it to change that. Well, they did, and I think they kind of overdid it. And as an older ex-Democrat who was rather dismayed at his party, former party at the moment, I'm just hoping that you can do something to reverse the process.
So what's your discipline on? Is there anybody else here who'd like to speak? Thank you. Come on.
I'm Peggy Merrill from Madison. I really have a question more than a speech. I worked on the census with my husband, and it was a wonderful experience. I've worked on it 2 previous sessions, and that is, I assume, the basis for this process. But maybe a dumb question. Where is the information that was gathered, and how is it impacting what you're doing?
I'll do a little overview at the end of the website and then some comments. But I'm still getting some of you to come on down, so I'm going to keep this up. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak?
My name is Bob Pascal, and I live in West Ospey. And we've talked about fairness and balance, so to provide some balance for the former Democratic gentleman who was just here, I thought I'd get on record as saying I'm a recovering Republican. And in a way, that drives home the point I want to make, which is party affiliation shouldn't have anything to do with the districting process.
Yes.
And the gentleman who spoke a little while ago, dismayed about some of the things Democrats have done. I know I'm dismayed at some of the things that my former party has done. And I think you guys should give a darn about whatever any of either party has done. Your focus is simple: a fair, balanced, and reasonable map. I expect it's unlikely that you'll come up with something that everybody heaps praise on, but my hope is you'll be able to come up with something that most everybody heaps praise on, and that Republican leadership will probably be unhappy with, and Democratic leadership, although pretending to be more open and even-handed, will secretly be unhappy with it, and then you'll have done well. Thank you.
Please.
there anybody else who'd like to speak?
If everybody else is spoken.
I think so. I don't know if I can do this.
Nothing good. Representative here again, I had forgotten to bring up earlier, one of the things that is important, I think, in our representative districts, obviously, it's a little difficult to very overtly gerrymander, given the very large number of representatives and the need for continuity of districts and so on. But one of the things, I know Paul Toomey has done some work on this and has identified that the multi-member districts are where we do tend to see really efficiency gaps that are off in terms of the representatives. And I would sort of urge that as much as possible that we would avoid multi-member districts by trying to divide either down into the towns instead of that can be done, or if it's a larger city, you can have some wards or something like that, so that we have fewer multi-member districts, because of the fact that that ends up basically packing the population, and therefore we'll have an efficiency out there. I also did have a question, because you have these maps out there, you've got the population numbers, so it appears. May I ask, though, for example, in District 3, 2 seats, 7582, then that's still number 999 minus 1.6. What do those mean, just to clarify for us, to be able to understand that, and just to helpful if that could be explained. I presume that's a population deviation from that deal, but it didn't quite make sense to what I thought. I'd be starting to 3,200 per year. You remember in each district, you will give a below the District 3, 2 seats, 7582, that is number 999-1.6%.
Thank you, Representative, for the question. Just so you know, there's probably nobody here to give you a definitive answer on this. This is pulled off the current map, so I believe it is the over under for the current number.
Thank you,
Representative Weber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As one who wrestled with this 10 years ago, that's exactly what it is. It's the deviation from the magic number, which last time was 3,291, or multiples thereof in multiple member districts. And as you have rightly realized, the thing that's really tricky is because we have to keep towns together, and because every town has to be in a base district, and because we can't cross county lines and we certainly can't cross state lines, trying to make the numbers come out right when almost everybody else in the country uses census blocks rather than keeping the towns together is very difficult. And when you have a floterial on the top of that, when you have one town that's only a little bit off and one town that's very much off, that then throws that out, and the New Hampshire Supreme Court will tell us we can't do it that way. And those are the considerations that have to be taken into consideration before you even get to the community's interest piece. Which is why it's really difficult in the House. It's much easier in the Senate because.
Thank you, Representative Bergen.
So these are two 10 numbers or 220 numbers?
Two 10 numbers.
Thank you very much.
The numbers on the back provide the comparison between the 210 number and the 220 number. So part of the reason I'm providing this to you here in the county is so when we come, first of all, we know what district you're in because we can see it. And that then based on the numbers, because the population of the state has gone up, so the number of persons per representative is slightly higher. What, if anything, is to your current districts might work or might change in the future. And of course, this is only the House district maps, as been pointed out. Thank you. Is there anybody else? All right, well, I think I am going to take this chance to sort of go over a little bit about what I spoke at the beginning. There's lots of comments about providing Zoom access. If you want Zoom access, that means you can be watching us on YouTube right now as we're speaking, and you will be able to go online to the general court website and watch this meeting tomorrow if you didn't have enough of it tonight. Because it will be posted usually pretty much first thing in the morning. And you can take a look at it there. You can also take a look at all the other public input sessions we've had. We have 2 more scheduled next week. We have Hillsborough and Belknap County. Also on that website to review, we have the laws that govern this. We have the meeting minutes, and we have the material that we have reviewed at the meetings. As you heard Representative Weber say, we have criteria that we have to follow. And those criteria have been discussed at meetings and agreed upon, which are constitutionally required. We also have to make certain assumptions in regards to cities, in regards to populations when we do this. And as you just heard in that back and forth, when you start to talk 400 representatives and trying to figure out how you're going to split them up between 1.3+ million people, it starts to get pretty complicated with the numbers. And keep in mind, we have to stay within county boundaries. We can't go outside of the county for your representatives here in Carroll County. So if you go on that website, you will be able to see what we've been talking about and the criteria. And again, you can take a look at what maps have been submitted. You can view submitted testimony, and it will ask you what bill you want to look at. And the bills are for the various things I told you about at the beginning in regards to redistricting. The Senate is one bill, the House is another bill, the congressional districts are another bill. So you can just look at the list and pick the district, you click on it, and then you can see the submissions. And I'm on it pretty much every day, so I know that there are some maps up there. So you can take a look at those maps, and you can submit testimony to the committee directly from that website by going back and forth. So as has been referenced, there have been certain decisions made about Zoom meetings. If people want to talk to me afterwards about it, I'm happy to. But if you are able to participate in Zoom meetings, you can get on the website and get that information to us. And I will tell you, it will get to all committee members. As I explained, not all committee members are here tonight, but those emails to committee members go to everyone. And that website can be viewed by everyone. So we certainly encourage you to use it because we're pretty happy. It's up there. I'd like it to look a little prettier, but it's certainly functional and can get you the information. I think that would be helpful. And for you to submit to us, that would be helpful also. Senator Gray, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Just that when you try to do all the House members, that's one website. The Senate has its own website. The easiest way to get there is right off the general court page. Then on the right-hand side, about halfway or a little more down, there's a link both to the House's website and to the Senate's website. So I just want to make that clear. If you do want to send to both committees, you would need to go to both of the email addresses that are listed on the pages.
So with that, is there anybody else who would like to speak here? Oh, yeah, Senator Perkins is, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairwoman. There was some interest expressed in the process going forward, so I wondered if you could just speak briefly as to what's coming up next, both for the Strength Committee and then for the bills that will ultimately result in the maps, just to help create understanding here.
Well, I can speak for the Senate process. I think it's the 25th, a week from this coming Monday. I've scheduled a meeting. It's only a 15-minute meeting because there won't be a lot to discuss, but we will, at that meeting, we'll make some decisions. As a chair, I can schedule meetings, but I can't do a whole lot. So, you will get an opportunity, and the rest of the committee to express your opinion.
On the House side, I think you might have heard, there's a date of November 18th. Those of you who are here from the House know that we have calendar dates that we follow, and we will be meeting the November 18th deadline because that doesn't end the legislative process, as you all know. That goes into next year. So we will be done with that part of our work by November 18th, which is why we wanted to get out here so we can start looking at things, and the final schedules have not been figured out. But again, if you go to that website, as soon as meetings are scheduled, you will see them on that website, and you'll be able to know what we're doing as soon as frankly committee members know what we're doing and I have figured out what we're doing. Because that's exactly what happens when something gets said, it goes to the staff who puts it out on the calendar and on the website, so you'll be able to watch it. But November 18th is our deadline. And with that, I want to thank you all very much for coming tonight and having us here at this beautiful facility. It's been a pleasure to be up here, and I hope there's a lot of snow this winter. I'll be back.